You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
And welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of Adventures into Reality. Every Monday, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I am joined by my intrepid co-host, Kathy Ma. Welcome to another show, Kathy.
Thank you again. It is great to be here. What a fabulous day it is today as well. The weather is so invigorating. Just makes me even more excited to be here.
Yes. Has your cloud of spiders cleared out?
Not quite.
Not quite.
But certainly a lot less. Yes. I wish I could say they were all gone, but no. That pesky nature thing, they just hang around.
As winter comes, the spiders come indoors naturally, and we as a human species have been dealing with insect kind for countless generations. And the reason I asked that question is what we're going to kick off today is living in balance with the things that are around you. You know, Kathy, you grew up in the big city in Hong Kong as well as other places, so you have a different form of life versus living in the city where you've gone from a big Hong Kong to North Carolina. And there are a lot of people that live in the big cities or live in the countries, and they don't see the two different perspectives. And the seasonal bugs that we get are one of the classic examples of how we can learn to live in balance with nature.
Yes, that is very true. We certainly see a lot less everyday nature, insect-wise or even bird-wise, animal-wise over in Asia. In Hong Kong, not necessarily in Asia. The only time we tend to see a lot of insects, apart from mosquitoes in summer, would probably be when there are buildings that are under scaffolding. They're being constructed or worked on or reconstructed. In that case, with all the bamboo and all the ties that are around, they tend to congregate in those areas. And when those situations happen, then there are a lot more things like spiders. Mm-hmm. Of course, we have the normal cockroaches around eatery areas, as you do everywhere else in the world. Right. But I have to say, one thing that did surprise me living in Hong Kong was the amount of snakes that we got. I didn't expect that many snakes, but then I suppose half of it is mountainous. So we should have expected more snakes, yet I wasn't quite prepared for them. But we did have a couple that came in like big king cobras that people were like, where on earth did these come from? And they're not native to Hong Kong. I mean, it's a long way to swim.
they escaped from people's collections, actually. When Hurricane Andrew hit Florida in 1992, there were hundreds and hundreds of pet shops that had high-end snakes for sale, and then people that had their private collections. So now you have what's called a rock boa constrictor and a Brazilian boa constrictor taking over many of the Florida jungles, to the point now they send people out to find them, and they're such an invasive species because there's nothing that can hunt them in the jungles. These things will even hunt and kill crocodiles and alligators.
Oh, goodness. Oh, in Florida?
In Florida,
okay.
Yes. And the same
Another
thing.
place to tick off my list.
Exactly.
Sorry, everyone in Florida. Oh, goodness. I had no idea. So do they track these animals?
You really can't track them. They breed so fast, and they hide. And it's so easy for them to hide in the jungle. Oh. They basically just start finding them when they go out and start searching for them, and they're literally everywhere.
Wow. Is there some sort of regulation as to how you can purchase these things to start with? Or?
Oh, there is regulation, but the hurricane it flattened a huge portion of Florida, and all these pet stores and stuff were just destroyed, and all the snakes escaped.
Yeah. Wow. Freedom.
Exactly.
It's just like being at home, but different.
Exactly. So, Kathy, this show is about healing, the healing concepts, and stuff like that. What do we want to talk about today?
Well, with this kind of weather, I was thinking we could even talk about herbal teas because this
Oh,
is the
yes.
time where you're going to start to consider these sort of things and which herbal tea will you pick for what type of
Exactly.
scenario. I mean, the choice is limitless. Just I went to the Walmart recently and had a look for some tea, and I was like there for ages. The range is so big. Forget about all the different variations of Chinese tea as well.
So in China, what is the common tea that they drink?
Probably the most common is oolong tea, jasmine tea, and what we call tikunyam. I don't know the English name for that.
Ouyang.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the English name for it.
Okay. But certainly those are the main ones that come through. A lot of the older Chinese like one called Sao Mei, because that's a stronger tea. But then province to province, they have different kind of teas, just for general meal or for greeting people. Like the Chiujiao people really like this very, very strong tea where you have tiny little glasses, not glasses, cups. They're, if you can imagine a sake cup glass, it's like maybe a third of that size. It's very small. And they put this super strong tea in and you just scull it down specifically after a meal, but you can have it before a meal. And it's supposed to help you with digestion. I quite like it. I mean, I've acquired the taste for it, but it's pretty strong. But I do feel like after you've had a very big meal, especially with Chinese banquets, I mean, your tummy is bursting. You have a couple of those and you feel much better. I guess it's like having a liqueur after dinner.
Well, whatever's in the tea, it probably assists the stomach in the digestion process, especially when you're dealing with really strong tea.
Yes, that's very true. I mean, over in Asia, they have teas for everything. You got different teas for stomach ache, gallbladder, kidney, pancreas, you name it. There's a tea or a tea mix that they will have for any ailment that you have.
Or some type of animal ground up into a
Oh yeah,
tea.
yeah. That's also, I'm going to say not really popular, but it's quite accessible. I mean, these days it's not as accepted to be having those kind of things anymore. I mean, people are getting more educated. They realize you can't just go and kill these, let's call them endangered animals, for whatever ailment or health benefit that you might find from it.
But that also stems from a culture thousands and thousands and thousands of years where those animals were in high levels of abundance.
Yes.
And you were able to take that high levels of abundance and create an entire cultural consumption of these things, whether it was for those that wanted to increase their chi energy in martial arts or for those that wanted their male or female energies, their kundalini energies back. That's some of the big thing with the ground up rhinoceros horn or any of those other pieces, parts that are made into some form of medicine.
Also, when we're talking a few thousand years ago, people were actually eating the animal. I mean,
Right.
These villagers would go and hunt it. They would all eat it together, and then the special parts like the paws or the horn or whatever it was would then shipped off to wealthier kind of areas to use for whatever it was. But the actual people that would hunt these animals, there wasn't a lot of food, and that's kind of what there was.
Right.
So you can see where it's come from. Not so much these days, but 1,000 odd years ago, that's all there was.
Exactly, that's all there was.
Yeah.
Unless you wanted to eat people.
Yeah. But even now, panda paw, bear paw is frowned upon between amongst the everyday, more educated or younger Asians now, because they understand that this is no longer the animal was not killed for consumption. It was killed for these type of things, and like everywhere else, they're up in arms and trying to protect these animals.
So what were the kind of teas that your mom gave you when you were young to help fit with sickness?
Um, you know, she didn't really give me so much tea, probably because she was from Australia. My dad and his family would give me more sorts of weird concoctions of, I'm sure, whatever they told me was not true. The one thing about, Chinese teas and Chinese medicines is no matter what they do, it all tastes horrible when they're using it for medicinal purposes. And they always add a piece of pork, but the fatty part of the pork.
Yep.
I'm not sure what you call that in English. Yeah, but they would put that in so that the tea or the medicine that they were boiling would be more not so dry, more full-bodied, I suppose you'd call it.
Yeah, because once the fat goes in there, it starts releasing little cells, and little cells start to absorb the tea, and it makes it easy for your body to absorb whatever's in the tea through the fat cells. Yeah.
Yes. And they would always add one big bar of raw sugar. I guess it was cane sugar. Mm-hmm. And it's, like the size of two Kit Kats. It's pretty big. Despite having all that sugar in there, it's still, you had to really force yourself to get, it's a lot like echinacea, very difficult to consume just like that. But echinacea is actually becoming very popular in Asia now.
It's hugely popular here in the United States, and most people take it through a tea. It's effective through a tea, but nowhere near as effective when you're taking it in a concentrated form, like a dietary pill.
Or the drops under the tongue, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it really numbs your tongue, though. It's strong stuff, and no matter how much honey you have later, it really doesn't take that taste away.
No, it doesn't.
But then you keep thinking, it's excellent for my immune system. This is excellent for my immune system. I can hardly breathe. I must have it.
Yeah, and then the other really popular thing is called Golden Seal. Now,
yes.
Golden Seal in the dietary pill form, it's very effective, but the actual most effective way to take Golden Seal is a powder that you inhale directly into your nose or into your lungs, and that is where you can get the best benefit of Golden Seal as a antibiotic, antiviral, direct to the system.
Is that because it goes straight into the blood system, the capillaries, and all
Correct.
that?
And then the way Golden Seal is, it's the way that it's produced. It's a very, very fine powder. And it can immediately go through the areolas and in the intestine. I'm sorry, in the lungs and in the nasal passages and go literally direct into your body. Whereas it is a lot of it is broken down when it goes in the stomach and takes a lot longer for it to enter the system, and nowhere near the volume that you're putting in via the powder.
Is Golden Seal easy to get in America?
Yes, it is. Finding it in the powder may be a little bit of a challenge, but there are plenty of people out there that have it on the internet market.
Wow, that's what I love about America. You can buy everything online, and it can get shipped to you. It's so accessible. When you live overseas, nobody wants to ship to you unless they charge you triple what the product is.
Exactly, triple what their product is.
Wow. Before I forget, I must remember to give this little promo that our marketing guy said we have to remember to say. For those of you interested in a private session and that want to go deeper with your questions with either Andrew or myself, go ahead and call the office now at America Code 1-360-894-0692, and they will be happy to answer any questions you have. Again, the number for a one-on-one session with Andrew or myself is area code 1 for America, 360-894-0692. Anyway, I feel good that I've said that.
Yes.
Got that out of the way.
I want to remind everyone, Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com is the listener-supported station. It is through the power of listeners and the power of the grassroots movement that stations like these continue to go. Please stop on by the site support button and drop a couple bucks by to support the station. So, Kathy, You and I were going on our sixth show, and we've got a bunch of other really good ones coming up. We are not going to be taking calls this hour, so we're going to be continuing our conversation. So let's talk a little bit more about healing. So when you first started Reiki, you experienced the power of it, and then you experienced how the symbols, and you've taken other healing stuff before. So as you began your mid-range journey into healing, what were some of the things that you ran across that were the common challenges?
I think the common challenge that I realized and faced, and probably most people, well, a lot of people would face, is that you can't hurry things along. I mean, you're so excited when you've started healing work and you've got all these techniques under your belt and you've had great success with one or two cases. And then, and when I mean great success, I mean immediate visual success, instant feedback type of thing that is positive and there has been growth. Whereas a lot of the cases that you come across are never that simple, and they take a lot longer for the healing process to start working and to take effect and make changes. And it's being patient and still being confident about that this is going forward. It's a bit like taking Chinese medicine. It gets worse before it gets better. So often with things like Reiki, people will experience some slightly worse symptoms before they get into that healing path and feel on top of the world. And it's quite difficult in those stages because you are not sure of everything, especially when you're a new healer. And then the feedback you're getting is, why is this happening? And, this is supposed to be better. And you don't have those answers for people. And
right.
To actually recognize that it's okay to not have the answers because right. That is their journey, and to not feel intimidated or hindered by the fact that you can't answer people. You have to just trust in everything that's going on. That was a very big challenge, and to have the confidence to be okay with that was right. A big challenge.
To deal with people's instant gratification needs. Why didn't you snap your fingers and heal me?
Yes.
It doesn't work that way.
No,
and that's
only it did.
That's what a lot of mid-range or the students that are beginning to discipline themselves, they'll run into this wall of people that expect instant gratification. And then that's where the experiences of the healer itself begin to overlay what is people that they want to heal, but they don't really understand what it takes to heal because they're still thinking you can snap your finger or take a pill and all of a sudden whatever it is that woes you is not going to be there anymore. Healing is the facilitation. And every different group and healers that are out there all say relatively the same thing. Is the person that you are practicing or the practitioner, you are the facilitator, and the other person is the one that's actually doing the healing.
Yes. It's a difficult thing to accept sometimes.
Right.
But once you're in that acceptance and you understand that, life is much easier.
Much easier because you get into the understanding that the infinite spirit is working with you. And in Reiki, its whole point is the universal form of energy. Pranic healing, quantum touch, all of that stuff is the same concept. They just use a little bit different language to get you to the point of exchanging energy with the healing guides that are seen and unseen. The seen ones are the ones that are illuminating the different parts of the body. When I learned advanced scanning for patients, it was a combination of body awareness of the person, the way their body sits, the way all the different things look, the way their tongue looks, their fingernails look, their eyes look. And all of that led to an observational perspective, and then the energy perspective where I could use my hands and, let's say, hover it over one hand over their heart, and I'd be touching a distal section like just below their kneecap and be able to actually test the different energy channels and determine if the person was in left brain or in right brain, or if there were a series of channels that were bridging over to somewhere else that they shouldn't do. And that would give me a concept of where to start and where to begin.
I mean, that's a big part of it's a big part of the whole healing process is having someone else's body tell you, or being in tune enough or in sync enough with it to get the message that this is what the body wants. It
Exactly.
may not be where your mind is preconceived the issue is. That was also another weird thing. Like, someone might come in with a knee pain, and of course your logical mind says, okay, we'll do the knee, but then everything in the body is screaming out, lower back.
Yeah.
And you can't explain it, you don't know why, yet you do something with the lower back, and suddenly the whole body has great healing and is moving forward.
Exactly. There are certain times when people lay down on the table face up or face down that their body actually shows you how out of tune it is, or what muscles won't allow the tailbone to sit properly. Like, there are many people that they don't even realize it, that their beds are so soft or too hard that they don't realize that their tailbone is actually poking out when it shouldn't be, and it's making an indent in the bed instead of it being relaxed and tucked inside, so the sacrum to the left and right can actually open up.
Yes, that's very true. I mean, the actual area where you sleep is just so important. Whether it's the actual environment, the energy, the position of things, the quality of bedding that you're using. There's just so many factors. And when you consider how long you spend in bed over your lifetime,
right,
it's amazing that people don't spend more time there. A quarter of your life. Wow. When you say it like that.
And some people, it's more than a quarter. It's a third.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So you were telling me earlier that there was some techniques that you know of that are good for helping lose weight in winter?
Oh, yes, and that's called cold weather training, actually. So for people out there that are bound and determined to go through a process of healing and shedding off weight and doing a detox, something I talk about frequently is juicing. And there are different forms of juicing that you can do that can assist you in losing weight. And one of those ways is to get a cultured yogurt drink or coconut water or whatever it is that you want to use as your smoothie based or your shake or juice base. Just to know you want the least amount of sugar in there as possible and the most amount of protein as possible. And you want to do this within the hour of waking up when you first wake up, so you give your body right away a shake or a juice that has some form of protein powder in it, preferably an all-vegan one that doesn't actually upset your stomach. There are ones that are out there. And then the kefir or yogurt juice or coconut water combined with a nanogreens, which gives you all of your servings of greens, and it's in a powdered form, along with a probiotic. And when you do this with the protein powder in the first hour, and then you go out and you actually try to walk for 20 minutes in the cold weather, you will begin to burn nearly double the amount of calories that you do for the rest of the day by triggering your body to do that with the protein powder in the morning.
Wow.
That's right. And then you convert yourself to, you have 2 shakes a day and you have 1 big meal. And your big meal can have your carbs and all that other stuff. You just have to balance the shake and your cold weather training. So if you know it's cold in the morning and cold in the evening, you want to make sure you're out there doing your 20 to 30 to 40 minute walk in the cold while just after you've taken that juice, within an hour of taking that juice. The earlier you can do, even better. You will start triggering your body to burn the protein that's in the shake, and all the nutrients that are is going to go direct to the blood. And then when you start to come down from the exercise, it will start burning your own fat.
Wow.
Now,
sorry, go on. Oh, I was going to ask, does it have to be brisk walking or jogging or just along?
Just scooting along, and if you can get some arm movement in with it, it's better. It doesn't have to be a full-on, power walk.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is to get your blood rate going so that your metabolism kicks in, and it goes, oh, I have all this protein in my stomach. Let me burn this protein. All right, that's our break. We will be back in just a minute, everyone. Hang on. And muted. And how is everyone? I was talking and didn't even realize I was muted.
I wasn't sure if we were back on.
Yes. I am enjoyed by the intrepid zebra horse, Natalie.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep, you sound absolutely wonderful.
All right. Well, that was really spontaneous. Thank you.
It's great to have you here, Nat.
Oh, it's good to be on the show. First time on the radio. This is really fun.
Yes, and for people that know, Nat has been on many, many shows with us. You can check us out at the Galactic Historian YouTube channel or at galactichistorian.com. So, Natalie, you've been a healer for a long, long time, as well as Kathy and myself. What were some of your early experiences when you were learning about healing?
Oh, wow. Kathy and I started off a lot of my healing with Kathy. And she was quite advanced, and she started to show me some really interesting techniques. I think everybody can heal. I think we're all natural healers. And, when certain things occur, you just want to be able to help. And when some things were occurring in my life, especially with some of the horses, I looked to Kathy and she's like, well, in her wise way, we can try these techniques and, there's Reiki and, I've just got my mastership and why don't we just play around with that? And it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal to actually get, that feeling that we all have, but to get it more ignited and to have the consciousness and the training to then, start to ignite the capacity of your body in such a way to let the energy flow through you so that you can facilitate and help others. And some of the experiences were quite bizarre. Curiosity sometimes always kills the cat. And some of the places I remember remember Kathy when she's like, okay, so who do you want to, remote heal and look into now? And I picked Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
I was a huge Arnie fan. He wasn't feeling too good that day.
But he felt good later.
Oh, he did. So those are some of the first experiences. Learning that with the more capabilities you have, the more responsibility you also have to be impeccable, to really, regard people's space and, sense when healing is asked for. Sometimes I find that a lot of people just go in there and think they have to give their energy to something. But if they're not clear, they're actually not helping the cause. Have you noticed that, Andrew?
Oh, absolutely. And this is the person that is there. They haven't healed themselves enough, but they're still out there healing others. And there's this tremendous risk of putting your junk together with the junk of the person that's trying to heal, and you are no longer the facilitator. You're just exchanging energies or exchanging wound energies from one person to another. And I run into this to so many healers that their heart's in the right place, but their heart didn't assist them in their mind awakening to the fact that there are things that they needed to clear up in their own life.
Yeah.
It's a big challenge to be able to disassociate your own stuff with other people's stuff and then to actually be able to accept it and then move forward with it. Because sometimes as a healer, you have that I want to save the world energy all around you and you have the givingness and the love. But sometimes knowing that it's not appropriate or it's time to step back or, in fact, this is not even their stuff, it's my stuff, that disassociation that you need is quite difficult. You really need to discipline yourself to be able to see what is yours and what is theirs.
As a really good example, one of the students that I trained up to the higher levels of Reiki, for a while she was definitely in the healed healer's path, doing great work, and then she started noticing that she was doing lots of liver work on other people, and it turned out that she ended up having a very severe issue with her liver, and that was showing in the healings. Even though she was doing this tremendous healing on other people and putting tremendous liver work on other people, it was her own need of her body and her own ignorance of her own body that it was coming through in the healing.
Yes. And there's one thing that I noticed, and I talked to a few other people that do this, work with a lot of horses all the time. And of course, then, their owners, because it is always entangled. And I found that over the time, there would be phases. There would be phases where I'd be dealing with a lot of neck and head injuries. Then there would be phases I'd be dealing with a lot of the knees and legs, and then the phases where you'd be dealing with a lot of the sacrum. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but it kind of goes through cycles. And I found that a lot of the time when I was healing those perspectives, I just healed something in myself, a perspective about myself, and I'd been able to do it in myself and somehow had the algorithm, the understanding, because I'd basically done it myself. I figured it out, and then I could go in there and I could truly understand what was happening and use that algorithm of self-healing and help then, those that were coming for that work. Have you guys noticed that as well?
Yes, especially when I start sending treatments forward in time, weeks ahead of time. The level of intuition as that date and time gets closer and closer and closer, yes.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. And a lot of the healers, they also do need healing. And a lot of the time when we're out there in the field, we come home and, we're so vested in doing the greatest, and we know our skill and we know what we can do, and we've spent years training, and you keep evolving. You never stop learning. You never, ever, ever, ever stop learning. And that's the key, to always be open in your perspectives, keep an open mind, especially when it comes to yourself. There are so many great, amazing methods and ways that are being discovered these days, or rediscovered, let us say, and also through the internet, healing modalities that people have discovered that are just a little bit different, but might be absolutely perfect for you personally. So for me, I'm always open to looking and to seeing, and then making sure that I spend that time myself to heal myself, because when you're out in the field like that, the most important thing is to give yourself the self-healing and the self-nurturing, and to be really, really gentle with yourself at the same time. It's sometimes when you're so busy you forget about yourself, and that's another thing for all those healers out there to remember to do their own, cleanliness, their spiritual cleanliness, their own self-healing.
And to do it with a smile and not a grumpy face because you've got 25 patients ahead of you.
Oh, yes. Right.
Day off, when is that?
Yeah, I run myself into that scenario each and every week with the private sessions that I take on, but I also I live a different form of a life to be able to do it at that level. And there are people out there that do 20, 30, 50 sessions a week, and for them, they're in their prime of their life, but understand that prime comes to an end when you've taken on enough of other people and your dreams are starting to get interrupted. And that's what a lot of my sessions turn out to be, is healing the healers so that they can get back on the path, so that they can reignite their happiness and their joy. So many of them have been massage therapists for a decade, and that beats up the body. You have no idea how many private sessions that I'm doing where it's just detaching the attachments to being the healer.
And not being a zealot, too.
Right, not being a zealot.
Slip into that really quickly.
Right. Natalie and I were talking about this concept called a zealot humanitarian, and it's a new concept. It's not the dictator. It's not the tyrant. It's something that we create during these awakening times because we want to help everyone so much. We become a zealot humanitarian, demand everything for free.
Ah, yes, I can relate to that.
or you put yourself into categories where you're like, okay, well, they still need a little bit of time. These guys are ready, where basically everybody should have that time.
Right. Everyone should have that own
time.
No
one gets left behind.
Yeah, no one gets left behind. And that's something that so many healers run into is this never give up attitude. And it's that never give up attitude that's when it's internal and not having attachments to external sources. That's when where never give up really is the indomitable human soul.
So, Andrew, what would your go-to technique be for your self-protection and to stay within yourself before you do sessions with people?
Well, every session I do a week or 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time, I go and use my special skills and special talents in a ceremony to go and observe those future moments in time. And then I also do ceremonies and rituals where a month to 3 months ahead of time, Every day of that month, I have a treatment coming from myself. I'm constantly sending an orchestra of treatments forward in time to assist me during my process. It is the nature of being a person that can observe time that forward or backwards in time, I'm still simultaneously assisting myself. Because there are times that in my future self where I'm receiving that treatment, I can go back to the energy of the sender and see my own growth patterns, as well as send energy back to that person with saying it, making that infinite cycle of healing. That's my personal modality and choice, because that's the way I trained myself through ceremonial expression, so that my level of self-nurturing was very, very high. And it's not because I was tremendously wounded. It was the goal and path that I had chosen as a healer, knowing that being the healed healer means the more I heal myself, the more I can heal others.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a very wise way to do it. What about you, Nat? You do so much work with animals. I mean, great work. But how would you distinguish between your energy and theirs? Is there a difference because it's an animal as opposed to a human, or is it the same for you?
Well, for me, every morning before I begin, I have specific exercises that I do so that I'm very aware of what's going on with me. And I then, after that, check into whatever sessions I'm going to be doing before I actually go to these sessions. I know, what's set up for that day. I somehow also tend to know when an emergency is going to come. It's just like this feeling I get. And when I'm with these beautiful, glorious beings, be it a horse or any kind of innocent, I find that their issues or their weaknesses, let's say, I can see them quite clearly. But I've always been able to do that. I've always been able to differentiate what is mine and what is not. But what I did start, and this is really interesting, is a lot of the listeners might know about this. It's kind of like a Ho'oponopono exercise. It's the guy who originally brought out the Ho'oponopono. And Andrew and I were discussing this a couple of weeks ago, actually. It was quite interesting. Because what I do is I sometimes heal what is going on with the animal in myself, and then I can see the animal changing through the connection that I've had.
Oh yes.
Okay,
yes.
This is really, really important, because a lot of people think that they have to go in there and facilitate something. Now, when you're working with a really, really dangerous animal or a wild animal, using this technique, I only know it through the Ho'oponopono. I don't say Ho'oponopono, but that is the reference to when you catch what's going there. You check that algorithm, you see the weakness, and then you do the correction in yourself. And because you're so entangled, and that creature is with you in the same holographic reality as yourself, and you're entangling with it, you can actually then affect change without interfering in their space, without interfering in their private space. It's really quite fantastic, because when you're dealing with wild animals or dangerous animals or animals that have been severely abused, they still can get their healing and become beautiful, beautiful beings by practicing that as well. So learning to differentiate what is theirs and what is yours is key, but also understanding that when you're facilitating, you're fully entangling, and you can help others in that perspective as well. Even if it's people or things you see on the TV. I know a lot of people who are, they see things on the telly and they get quite disturbed. I know I do. And I can then start to do those corrections, with myself, and then sending that through as a connection to those beings. And it's the results are really quite remarkable. It's something that healers can really play around with, because it gives you such a bigger perspective of being able to, make this world a better place.
And one of the more advanced techniques you learned was the Jung method, where it talks about almost instant corrections.
Jung, yeah, Dr. Cam Jung. I'm a big advocate, advanced practitioner of Dr. Cam Jung, another great tool. They're all tools, right? They're all tools for us to remember what we've always been able to do. And yes, it is. It's very, very powerful. It's a wonderful healing modality to look up. I really began to shine with the Jung method. Why? Because I love the way how precise it was, and it really starts to let you think, is it physical, psychological, mental, emotional, spiritual? What is it? and you use a form of muscle testing. But after a while, when you've trained in it, you will actually start to sense when your body is weak or strong to whatever it is that you're questioning, when you're trying to pinpoint precisely what it is. Because once you've pinpointed that, you can then delete that weakness straight away, correct and delete it, and take it back to the void. It's really, really powerful. And I know that I've done that method with both of you guys, and and with your animals, and it's quite fantastic, isn't it?
Yes, and then combined with many of the other skills. Kathy,
Yes.
one of the ones you learned was Watsu, and that's like a water treatment.
Yes, that's actually something I learned while I was in America about 20 years ago, and that was quite fantastic. They start off with Watsu, which is working with someone one-on-one in water, where you're holding the person in water, you're doing movement with them. So they're just like a wet noodle. They just let you do things to them in terms of movement. And then you also use the shiatsu points to help them release blocked energy. But the actual movement of the water, and water, I mean warm water, not bath cold water, it is absolutely amazing. And the healing that a person can get, and the breadth and depth of movement that they can regain is quite amazing. And then they have a further, more advanced way of doing things, which they call Vasatansan. And that's where you actually take someone underwater. I mean, during this time, the person, such as myself, we're just standing in the pool of water, which will be like up to our chest. We're not immersed with tanks or anything. And this is so you do some Watsu practice with them, get them all relaxed. Then they'll put a nose clip on. And you'll just do a little bit of underwater work with them until they relax and see how far you can take it. But just the incredible healing that can go on, and that release a person can experience was absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't believe it when I first encountered it. And to do that with other people, it was just so wonderful. It was a joy. You're only limited by needing a pool of warm water.
That's it. Just a pool of warm water, and you could be able to once again put people in a scenario where you can start healing and nurturing them.
It's Kathy. When Kathy was studying these and becoming qualified, I was a willing apprentice. And
a willing and able body.
Willing and able body. And I have to say, when we started to do the Vasatansan, the water dancing, I did not want to come up. Kathy actually had to bring me up, because I was to the point that I was actually breathing. I can't explain it, but you actually feel like you're back in the fetus of your mother's womb. You are breathing, but you're breathing underwater. And it feels like you're breathing underwater. I can't really explain that phenomena scientifically, but as a person who has experienced this phenomena, it was literally like going back to the 0 point. And everything sheds, and the water's just there, and you can feel it, and it's almost like sometimes you don't want to come back up. It's that amazing. And it's something that if someone's trained in these kinds of techniques, it is really, if you like water, it is one of the most powerful healing modalities that I myself personally have ever experienced. It's really, really powerful. All the systems were going, the body felt light, and you literally feel like you're being reborn. It was quite incredible.
Yeah, and there are so many other healing styles that are very similar to that use water, salt water. Some even use a salt water that's so heavy that you can float in it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and what is that one? I forget the name offhand. That with the chamber,
the sensory deprivation chamber, where they add so much. Yeah, you float into a completely dark environment, and it's the water's the same temperature as your skin. So you don't even realize you're floating. It feels like you're floating in water. It just literally, you can't tell where your skin ends and the water begins.
Now that sounds wonderful. I can't even think of a word. Wonderful.
For stress relief, it is one of those incredible things. Again, it's about giving yourself that self-healing and self-nurturing time, as well as doing, hyperbaric chambers. Extremely, extremely relaxing also, because you're basically tripling the amount of oxygen that your whole body's intaking for that hour that you're in the hyperbaric chamber.
Wow, tripling. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if anyone wanted to try something like that, they would just search hyperbaric chamber in the local area.
Correct. And you'd be surprised, there are hyperbaric chambers everywhere now, everywhere. It's really becoming quite popular because it takes care of a lot of things like edema in your feet right away. Takes care of a lot of issues where people with heart conditions, diabetes, et cetera, they have a big issue of getting oxygen deep into their blood to all of their cells. So when you get all this extra oxygen into your blood cells, your body goes through this deep relaxation phase, and the fascia open up and your lymph nodes open up and does what the body's supposed to do. The blood carries toxins back to the liver, and the liver dumps them into your intestinal tract.
The body is just so amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's so efficient.
It is its own little psychic machine. And horses,
it's got a brain of its own.
And horses, something that Natalie's work about, they can drop tremendous amounts of weight in just a day because they have much more control over their metabolism.
Yes, I always get worried though if my horse drops a huge amount of weight in that day.
Well, you know what I mean. That they can change their weight to adjust their body temperature.
Yes, it's quite incredible. I mean, that's the beauty of the horse, and I know a lot of horse people know that now, especially on this side of the planet, going into the winter. We try to keep the lights on a little bit longer. We try to keep blankets on their, on their necks as well, just so that the hairs don't grow so long. For when a horse is cold, his hairs grow really, really fast. I mean, overnight they can grow up like several inches if necessary. The hair, that's quite a phenomena. And it's quite incredible how these horses can adjust to the environment accordingly if they have the right food. You'll find a lot of horses that don't have the right food and the right care and the right shelter. What will happen is instead of all the hair growing really long, you'll find that strands of hair would grow really, really long and the other hair will just remain short. So it's really dependent on the health of the animal, and you can actually see that also with people. Have you noticed when people aren't doing so well, their hair starts to not look so good?
Yep, where their fingernails look wrinkled.
Yeah, hair and fingernails. And I just wanted to go back on that with Rose and Debbie. You've been doing interviews with those guys, and the practice of Jinshin Jitsu. Because that is another healing therapy that is
amazing.
Very, very, very powerful. It's one of these it's not new, it's ancient, but working with Rose and Debbie and some of the techniques that Rose was able to show me and then I've started to employ, Jinshin Jitsu is something quite spectacular. And what is beautiful about Jinshin Jitsu is that you can go online and you can look up that name. And there's actually books you can order on Amazon and in other places where they've got these self-healing and self-help cards. And basically it's just working with the piezoelectrical field of your body and knowing how to use the left hand and the right hand on the certain energy points. And it's so deep. The healing goes so deep because it's literally working with the electrical field of your body and the central nervous system. And both Andrew and I had treatments with Rose, and you could actually feel the bones moving with the lightest of touch when she placed her hands in the protocol areas, in the safety energy locks. I mean, that is another practice that if you don't have much time or don't have much money, or you really, when it comes to discernment, you're really not sure, if you want other people touching you because you're highly sensitive, this is a healing modality that you can really get the book and start to practice on yourself. And I know a lot of people that do that with phenomenal results. I mean, I have to say I've been playing around with this now for a couple of months, and it's quite fantastic what you can do once you start to, work with the cards and use the different positions. And I'd recommend anybody just to try it out. Again, especially if you're very, very sensitive and in your area there's maybe not someone who is advanced as you are, psychically and energetically, and is not as clean as you can then start to heal yourself.
Yes, and Reiki is one of those practices that is truly meant, if you're not in the mastership, to be used on yourself or your family.
Yes, and Reiki is always a good precursor to Jin Shin Jitsu, I find.
Yes, as well as quantum healing, quantum touch, and many of the other ones out there. So whatever modality it is, use it on yourself as often as you can as part of your self-healing and self-nurturing processes. Grant yourself the gift of your own healing energy, and you will be surprised beyond the infinite energies of how much more you're able to do. Alrighty, everyone, we'll be back just after the top of the break.
Listening to Revolution Radio.
And welcome back, everyone, to our second hour of the show. I am joined by Kathy Ma and Natalie. We're going to be continuing our conversation about healing here before we take calls. So everyone, please hold on. We are not taking calls just yet. The lines are lighting up like the infinity storm of people wanting to get a hold of us.
No, the support from everyone for this show and talking to us has been absolutely amazing. We're really blown away. Thank you so much. But for those of you that are interested in a private session and that want to go deeper with your conversations and questions with either Andrew or myself, do go ahead and call the office now at country code 1 for America, 360-894-0692. And they'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
So now I have a continuing conversation question. So a lot of people know Natalie works with horses, and one of the that she learned was equine cranial sacral therapy. So for those of you that have, horses out there, the big audience there, or those that have animals and pets, cranial sacral therapy is an amazing way of doing hands-on as well as distance healing on animals.
Yes, that is right.
Absolutely amazing stuff. I've seen Natalie do stuff that I just could not dream is possible. And to see the change and the happiness come through in a horse or an animal is phenomenal. Absolutely. And, even by distance, what she's done for my little dog has been fantastic. Thank you so much, Nat.
Oh, guys, you're so welcome. Animals they're part of our planet, and they're the innocents, and they're the ones that are waiting for us to get there, literally to get there to that point. And when you start to use healing modalities like cranial sacral therapy, it can be extremely powerful. And what is very interesting is when you reach the advanced modalities, be it myofascial release, cranial sacral therapy, Yuen method, Reiki, you find with horses or any type of animal, but especially with horses, I find in my own experience, is that they're very, very receptive and they're very, very clear. And you can get some astonishing results because there's not so many blockages and hindrances that these animals have compared to humans when they don't watch the TV. You see what I'm saying? They don't get all the propaganda and all of those things. So the restrictions and the blockages and their perspectives and how we are cut off, they're not like that. So it's very rewarding when you use these types of healing modalities with the horses. And they respond to most any healing modality I've found. They're just so grateful for the human touch of love, that a human is facilitating with Earth Mother. That's amazing healing just for them. It's one of the most wonderful and rewarding things a person can do, from my perspective. There are many, many healers out there for people, and I do work with people, but I find my golden key is with the animals, especially with the horses. And when you do cranial sacral, I'm now working with the Jin Shin Jitsu with the horses, Andrew. And there's been some incredible results with that as well. They're just such amazing beings. I mean, you've seen some of the things that we talk about when it comes to the heartbeat and heart math, and the institutes that now say that with a lot of these people that have post-traumatic stress disorder, be it from a terrible car accident or whatever else, you'll find that being around a horse actually regulates the heartbeats of humans and helps autistic children begin to speak and heals so many other perspectives just when they're in that heart space of the horse, which is now being clinically proven. That's quite fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And you get to learn that the bringing together of all the different modalities is what makes the facilitator that mechanic that's got a big old wall of toolboxes.
Yes, that's the key. I mean, a lot of people say to me, so are you going to do this or that? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. All I know is that I'll come to that being and I'll see what's going on. And most of the time, it's a combination of variables. You know, some horses would, or some beings would need this specific, and then combined with another specific of healing modality. And that's when you truly become the master of your tools. You know, you just know from instinct that this will be probably a better algorithm to serve as you unpeel the onion and start to see, you know, what is going on there for the physical, mental, and emotional perspectives of these beings. Also, past lives are a big deal for animals as well.
Oh,
I
yes.
can't tell you how many horses have a fear of water because they drowned in past lives being on the ships that got sunk at war.
Exactly. They had cavalry being brought to war. They had countless generations that were forced to cross rivers and they weren't ready for, and they're overloaded with weight, and they drown.
And that's something that I really started to talk to Debbie about, is how we can do past life regressions for horses with a human being the surrogate for that horse. And clearing then those blockages.
Unique concept. And I know it can be done. It's a matter of the person holding the portal in the right space, because the horse will bond and match with you, because that's what they do.
Well, I've seen you do it, Andrew. I've seen you read the records on all of my horses, and then being able to, as you read it, I was then able to go and correct that weakness straight away. It was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
That's my special gift. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to open up the calls. You can call in at 347-688-2902. As the mad rush to phones and Stevie's lines are lighting up, we are going to be taking questions on healing, modalities. If you are a healer and you have questions that you want to ask us, this is your time to ask the masters.
I've seen you.
Hello.
Hello, your name and where you're calling from?
Oh, hi. My name is Jose Pedro, and I'm from Chile.
Chile. Welcome to the show, Jose. What kind of questions do you want to ask?
This is amazing. I'm online. Okay, so...
Welcome.
I have two... thank you. Thank you very much. I have two questions. One of them is for Andrew, is my overall energy and what should I do kind of now. I already did the fire ceremony and the purge and the pilgrimage through Tiwanaku and Peru. So here I am, and
So when you did your fire ceremony and your purge, what were you experiencing through the purge? Did you have a lot of stuff come up?
Not quite psychically. It was pretty easygoing. It was like my third purge already. Mm-hmm. So this is a very deep one. It's from Arise and Shine, so it's one of the best, I think, out there. And the thing is, at the end, I was smoking marijuana every day, mm-hmm. and the journeys were very intense, like very intense.
Well, the reason they're getting intense is because you're cleaning up a lot of your big issues. I want you to think of it like, you know, you've been away for a long time and you come home and there's a whole bunch of mail in your spiritual mailbox. And when you start to doing a purge, you're clearing out all that junk mail that's all debt, psychic debt mail. And as you've cleared a lot of that out, your body's going through the next process where the winter or the next level of cycle is coming. And this next level of cycle for you is going to be the 21st to the 23rd December, which is going to be absolutely vital for your galactic connection, your galactic radio to start connecting back into your heart. your galactic radio is connected to your brain, and you've had these intense visions and communications with all sorts of beings, but not enough of it's being recorded into your long-term memory. And this is what your next phase is about. Your journey to Tiwanaku was specific for your soul. It needed to be there at that exact right time. The other caller, you have to mute your phone and turn off the radio.
Going to be the 21st to the 23rd.
Okay.
We're getting echo. There we go.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things that are very important for you to understand. It's the 21st to 23rd of December is where you want to spend time in ceremony, doing your self-healing and self-nurturing on yourself, because during that time, there's many older versions of yourself have targeted that day to create what we call a day of density. And in these days of density, the other things that are trying to control you back into domination or to make you the victim or the tyrant of your own energies is going to try to lure you through habit patterns those days.
Okay, so those specific days they'll try to target me.
Yeah, they're going to try to target. And these are other versions of yourself who already understand you are making the path and the journey into being your inner being with an external creation of who you are. And that means all of those other beings trying to take over those moments will have very, very tough times, so that they're going to try to alter the way you eat food. They're going to make sure friends try to communicate to you so that you be led away from those times.
So, two things. So what do you recommend exactly for me to do until that date? And the second thing is that when I was taking I took some Pedro at the end of this purge, and I was reading the contract revocation, and it was so obvious how my past lives were really trying to interfere with me. It was the most difficult thing I ever tried to do.
So for people that know, San Pedro is another version of ayahuasca, except it's poured differently, created different. It's a much less intense, but at the same time can be very, very intense. Different process of a shamanic substance. So when you were reading the contract revocations, it was a deep inner sense of knowingness because the words were echoing truth.
Yeah. I mean, I felt I could how I was really responsible for a lot of what is going on right now. I'm not exactly sure in past lives, but I think I did have to. Maybe I had important, positions in past lives where I was one of the creators of the pyramid, as yes. I mean the Illuminati pyramid,
Yes, and now at this much later date, when these pyramids and other concepts are being used for propaganda purposes and not for their real purposes, you are beginning to feel the pull of those energies that wants to reveal more truth about it. But at the same time, you can't reveal the truth because it would reveal all the bad things that were done by everyone that lives in this world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So for you, it's going to be continuing the contract revocations and then writing your own, specifically for yourself, the experience you had on San Pedro while you were reading the contract revocations. This is where you got to write the journal to the self, where you can formulate the words in your mind and really get them going, as well as begin to record yourself on audio so that on the 21st to the 23rd, you can go back to listen to the spark of your voice.
Perfect. Okay.
Those are what I recommend. And then there's a few other things that are on the way for you. And Kathy, I want to bring you in real quick.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot going on in your energy. It's like your fireworks, I guess we could say it's exciting times to be you. I think you'll find over the next 6 months, possibly even the next 12 months, a lot of things are going to happen for you. And there'll be more like aha moments, Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's kind of difficult for you to see it all at the moment because you're so immersed in it. But when these moments come, that clarity that you get will just be so exciting for you. You will also find probably, I'd say, after Christmas time, that there's a lot of good news that comes up for you. And it's all about timing. Like you're going through this big, tough time and weird time coming up, as Andrew was talking about. And when you get through that, you will find suddenly just like that, snap, 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 1, 2, 3, probably 4, before things that happen to you where you're like, oh wow, that's fantastic. So it's a lot to look forward to, but it is confusing because you've got so much coming up. It's all very positive, but then it also means you have to make choices. That's the tough part. So don't be too scared. Like, it's not you have to choose door number 1 or door number 2 or the box. It's not quite like that. But at the same time, that excitement level that you will feels like that. But don't worry. All of it is
Can you
good.
help me with the job thing? I'm looking for a job. I'm an environmental engineer, and it's been, I don't know exactly what to get into. What can you see that with that going on? It's been like 2 months looking for it.
I think this is all going to happen for you. That's one of the things I'm talking about. Like, January, February are going to be exciting for you. There's a lot of opportunity. Part of it will be career related, but it's what will I do? I mean, literally, it's nail biting stuff. I could take that, but if I hold out, I might get this one, the one that I wanted. But it's great to see this in someone, because whatever you've been doing and the energy you've been putting out, it's coming back for you, and it's, threefold great. So it's really, really exciting times. And whatever you choose, it's a positive choice. So don't worry about it in that sense.
Okay.
What my only hint to you, I would say, is think clearly before you jump at opportunities, because with this nail-biting time, the tendency to just bolt and take the first or second one before waiting to see is, very paramount.
Yeah.
What I'd say is, what you need to do is prepare for yourself. Say, whatever opportunity I get, I will wait 1 week before I make a decision. Because if you allow yourself that time, you will see other things. But at the same time, it makes you feel better because you've given yourself a parameter.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Good.
I got one more thing on the side. This may seem a little bit out of the left field, but beware of a red-headed woman with a bottle of rum.
Oh. Really? Should I be aware?
The next 90 days, do not drink rum from a red-headed woman.
Are you serious?
If she's got a whole bottle, yes.
Okay, so this is literal, no figuratively.
This is literally.
That's their natural color.
Exactly.
Could I ask one small thing? One short, quick thing?
Sure.
I have this back pain, which started the day I arrived to Mount Shasta. I was in a monastery there. So this back pain has been going on for like a year and a half already. And I've been trying all sort of things. So I went to this very powerful lucid dream where I was literally plugged out of the matrix, and I asked the computer, and the computer told me, and it was like the computer was an interface with God, to get an operation from a company called LDR, and it actually exists. It's called LDR Global, but I don't want to get an operation, so I'm wondering what is it? What is this pain in my back?
Your sacrum. Your sacrum, it's in the front of your body as well as the back of your body. I want you to imagine where your tailbone is. And to the left and the right of the tailbone, there are these little indents where the hips are, and there's a huge set of muscles that go and flow through there, and that's called the sacronella. And what's going on with your back pain is your tailbone and your two sacronellas are extremely clogged to the point where it's creating psychic trauma, which is then causing the back damage, and this is all from heavy duty swelling.
Heavy duty swelling.
Yep, heavy duty swelling right in the sacronella area.
And how can I, should I use the cannabinoid thing you say?
No, well, this thing is, you have to understand, you need deep tissue massage to release the fascia, or you need some form of craniosacral positioning where they can start to unravel the tailbone. Your tailbone has got at least three compression bruises on it, meaning in a metaphorical scenario, like you fell flat on your butt or flat on the left or the right side of your hip, which has caused your tailbone to completely go out of position. which is then
Wow.
changing the position of the spine and causing not a stenosis, but a bulging of the spine, which is causing your back pain, which is then causing swelling, and which is causing you to change your whole motion and stride. I'd be willing to bet if you could get someone to do a really powerful unraveling of your tailbone, that's a craniosacral therapist, or someone that's really, really good with tailbones, glutes, and quads in massage, that you would actually gain about a half an inch or 3/4 of an inch in your height back.
Wow, it's that bad. Wow.
Well, it's only like that bad because you hold your stress this way. This is where you hold your stress. You're a spiritual person. You've done San Pedro. You've done all this stuff, but there's still an issue with you being rooted here in the now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds very accurate.
And that's just what the body's reflecting, is having to be forced to be rooted here in the now, and to not be detached and still have emotions, to still be able to love people and have love be returned to you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yoga, that's the most classic self-help way to begin. And then you can, again, to get someone to get really in there with deep tissue massage, or some form of somebody that is able to unravel the tailbone. And like I said, you're gonna get height back.
Okay, good. Excellent.
All right, we've got to move on to the next caller.
Thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you so much for calling in. The next caller is Anders. Are you there?
Okay.
Yes, hello. Hi, Andrew.
How you doing? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Sweden.
From Sweden. Our break is going to be coming up in like 2 minutes, so if you hear any music, just hold on to the call. So what kind of questions do you want to start with?
Yeah, I'm very excited to talk to you tonight. And actually, if possible, I don't really want a private reading. Instead, I have put together like a pretty short text, which leads up to 2 interlinked questions about ceremony in relation to contract revocations and karmic debt.
Okay.
Is that fine?
Yeah, go ahead. The show. Cool. This show's not just about reading; it's about questions as well as things where people have talk about the material. Yes.
Exactly. Cool. And then perhaps one short question about myself, but only if we have time.
And if you hear the music, just hold on, and we'll continue the question on the others. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. I'm quite nervous, but I'll try my best. Okay. So I'm trying to get deeper into my understanding of one of your core teachings for healing and growth, which is the different purposes of ceremony, especially then their meaning and usage in relation to reclaiming one's own sovereignty and free will, each layer at a time, as you talk about. But, because the heart-based relationship to ceremonial living that we all had in the past, literally in these times, has been stolen from me and many, many others our entire lives. It helps me a lot to create mental imagery in order to get deeper into my own understanding and knowingness. So,
just hold on a second. We'll continue on the other topic outside the break. All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
And welcome back, everyone, to the final half hour of this Monday's show. Anders, are you there?
Yes, hi there.
How you doing? So let's go on with your question uninterrupted now.
Yeah, well, before the break, I was talking about creating mental imagery in order to understand things better. So I was thinking I could give you my understanding of your teachings in my words, and then you could tell me if I'm on the right track or not. I think this could be helpful for others as well. Yeah. So I think you mentioned sometime that one's spiritual contracts could be seen like branches of a tree. So if you think of the entirety of your contracts as a sort of huge, super complex soul language spiritual contract tree, then that tree would have like an incredible amount of branches shooting out everywhere from top to bottom. Many of the branches are obviously very healthy and very beautiful, but many of them has also been infected with disease, been burnt, been corrupted, or changed into something completely different from the original. Also, I guess one would presume that many of the branches are intertwined, like hugging each other and stuff. So
as the forests all intertwine, yes, everyone is their spiritual contract tree intertwining in the canopy. Yes,
exactly. So for the purpose of understanding, could one say that each of these corrupted branches, each of the negative contracts, holds a specific amount of energy, like the energy it takes to revoke that specific contract?
Yes. That is its cipher to unlock the energy. Yes, the awareness of the contract.
Cool.
Awareness is the cipher to the code.
Yeah. That's the continuation. Would it then be correct to assume that during every ceremony that one chooses to do with the intended purpose of making your own and others' contract trees healthier by revoking your negative contracts, that all the energies, like all the heart-spaced presence that one are able to summon during the ceremony and during all forms of self-expression and conscious applications of the sacred, is in a sense sent to the summoned spiritual course of equity, that then are able and authorized to, in the proper way, cut off or heal as many of the corrupted branches that the energy is sufficient for.
Yes, very well put. Very well put. When you call these sacred energies in and accomplish application of the sacred, you are mixing many metaphorical concepts so that the spiritual court of equity has all contracts available to it. There's an infinite amount of ancestors there who can read every contract branch to every angle and can see even the most complicated time travel plans.
Wow, that's just awesome. Okay, so that's why doing the contract revocations to the fire, reading them with bravado, singing the revocations or doing it ceremonially or playing singing a song afterward amplifies the effect so much.
Amplifies it and then followed by your own out loud words in flow that you may not necessarily be reading, but have learned the deeper teachings by repeating it through the contract revocations or creating your own. Like when you hear me just, snap of the finger and I start doing it, I in the ever-present moment of now choose to open spiritual, because I've practiced it for many, many, many years to be able to do that just off the top of my head in a sacred manner, because I've written my own countless numbers of books and volumes on prayers. These were my own personal prayers, but it ultimately trained me to be able to muster the energy, the bravado, and the understanding behind the bravado itself.
And then, like you say, you enter no time. So that means that it's unbelievable, because that means that each and every tiny little bit of awareness during your ceremonial time, during each and every ceremony, each beat of the drum, each shake of the rattle, each note of one song, each syllable of every contract revocation or prayer, every breath during a ceremony truly, truly matters.
Absolutely.
Because we're using our own creativity and love to slowly but surely completely transform the world we live in from the ground up. That's
exactly. And that process is eliminating fraud time, Roman numeral time.
Yeah, and then you take away from the energies they are using to maintain their system of control on this planet and many, many others. Yeah.
And once you get that concept that in a ceremony time means nothing, you've won.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of making it a part of your life.
And then you gain more and more strength yourself, and more and more free will. Yeah. So it's both ways. Okay, so my second question is about ancestral karmic debt and other unresolved issues and energies with ancestors. So when you do a ceremony with that intended purpose, to find remedy and resolve with the energies of your ancestors, past, present, and future, could one say that it's the same thing here, like with revoking the contracts, but instead of the energies being used to revoke contracts, they are used to hold space for and initiate a sort of a multidimensional communication between your own soul and your concerned soul sparks and spirits with the soul sparks and spirits of the ancestors you need to resolve karma and or exchange energies with.
Right. The seen and the unseen.
Right.
You're dead on it. It's just understanding it's a different form of multidimensional expression. You know, contract revocations in the forms of the trees you were talking about, all the branches are coming out from you, and you're holding the space so a multidimensional spiritual cord of equity can find remedy and resolve. When you are sending a different form of ancestral branches out, you are bringing the alchemy, the living, breathing, moving, physical you as a tree that can spread all of its different tendrils to all of the different ancestors who need acknowledgement.
All right. Yeah, because it's not like you can't, you know, your ego can't have a conversation with all of these ancestors. It's your soul and your soul sparks and your spirits who get to communicate. So is it that you through the ceremonies you are able to create a medium grounded here in physicality for energies that needs to be exchanged or flow through?
Correct.
You know.
Correct.
Yeah, to flow through.
And that's where alchemy, the medium of energy exchange, becomes very important. The fire, or doing the ancestral soups, because you have a manifestation in the seen world for those unseen entities who are very much a part of the seen world. And when we as mediums to the seen and unseen world use alchemy to our personal and spiritual advantage, we can assist the ancestors to help us even greater, because we are removing their blockages of being seen.
Beautiful. Oh, okay. Well, that helped me a lot to get that confirmed, you know. Okay. So my own question is which sick and corrupted branches of my spiritual contract tree do I need to focus on right now? What parts of my spiritual contracts needs the most care during the next few months?
It's really not about your spiritual contracts at this point of the game for you.
All right.
Okay? You've become aware of them. The thing is, bounding into your daily life more no time, meaning because you can take care of an issue that's millions of years old in an afternoon in no time. It can be done that way. It's not going to be done instantly, but in an afternoon where you've given yourself no time, once, twice, 3 times a month, you can take care of gigantic issues. It's the daily imprinted habit patterns that you have to understand that prevented you for all these years of being in the practice. You understand what I'm saying?
I think so.
It's the actual action of the process for you. That's your next level of big spiritual awareness alchemy, that by doing it on a very structured basis so it becomes imprinted by your own higher self, your own physical self with bravado, that you are, as in a sense, taking your power back from the parasympathetic and the sympathetic that is running the emotional body, and then eventually taking power back to the dream world so that you can have full lucid dreaming. You can't take control back of the dream world until you've gone through the entire multidimensional array of the body's experiences and how we've given power away to them to run basic programs. Like when you're driving and there's a different part of your body that's in control, even though you may be thinking and doing things. And another one when you're on a train and somebody else is in charge of you. And another one when you're at work and somebody's talking to you. Those are all different versions of light bodies that we have set up to psychically interact with all of nature. What we have to do is reshuffle these light bodies during a time of recalling of all of our light bodies that have interacted with every single physical and non-physical being we have met our entire lifetime. So we have millions and millions of light bodies out there, and oftentimes they get captured in other places, or they become errant or rebellious, and we need to let them go. So that is the other thing about you, is think of it like a corporate pink slipping of a bunch of light bodies that don't do you any more good. These are versions of ourselves that are stuck in the past without emotional growth.
So when you say I have to go in no time, do you mean like a meditation with an intended purpose?
No. Because a spiritual cord of equity that calls back, recalls all of your light body experiences. This is why we tell our story to the fire. because we begin to remember all the places and things we've done, and we get reminded that there are millions and millions of our little photonic light bodies we created as the interacting experience in a different frequency of fraud time.
But I haven't really... sorry.
Go ahead. When we bring them back to the spiritual court of equity, we can give them their sovereign free will to go on and be a sovereign being on its own, so it doesn't exchange energy with us by polluting in it, because what it does is it's constantly polluting our field with energy from other frequencies of time.
So I should maybe write a contract for that specific
Correct.
thing.
Specifically for
to
that.
Release my... Yes. Okay. I thought I had to integrate them all.
I like calling it our human resources station that understands we cannot be empowering these workers of ourselves that are doing nothing and only giving polluted energy back. And essentially you have to fire them. Okay. I bring terms like that because some don't leave. They stay and pollute until you kick them out. And those are times when we've been through extreme emotional abuse and trauma for whatever it is. It doesn't matter, but it's created a frequency where that light body has been inverted, and it's now putting energy back into the system that is a fake experience because it's stuck in fear, envy, hatred, jealousy, resentment, or shame, blame, or guilt.
Yes.
So for you, the 21st to the 23rd of December is, like the other caller, is going to be very, very big for you. It is an ending of the 2015 cycle. And this is where you got to recall what you did this year. What were your great accomplishments? This is your ritual of victory, the 21st to the 23rd. And the more enjoyment and happiness and just pure spiritual energy you can get out of those 3 days of counting your 2015 victories, your 2016 will come into a much higher potential and perspective.
So I do a ceremony the whole day, if possible, and just count
one each day. It doesn't have to be zealot ceremony.
Yeah, okay.
You don't need to be in meditation for 3 days. Okay. A few hours each day.
I see. Yeah.
All right, darling, we've got to move on to our next caller. This has been really good.
Thank you so much. It's I admire what you and Katie and Natalie and all the rest, Debbie, and all of you do, very much.
You.
So, yeah. Take care now.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Our next caller is 702. Are you there?
Hello?
At 702, your name and where you're calling from?
Hello?
Hello. Area code 702 is your name?
Amanda?
Hi, Amanda. Where are you calling from?
From Las Vegas.
From Las Vegas. What kind of questions do you want to ask?
I was just curious if you could give me some direction. I'm actually I haven't really gotten into a spiritual practice, and I've been told that I have some intuitive abilities, but I don't really experience them, and so what can I do to help develop that within myself?
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Kathy in here real quick, and because there's two things that are going on with you. You have a male energy and a female splitting you in two different directions, and I want a female perspective before a male energy comes back.
Okay.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
I look at your energy, and to me, it looks like you actually, simply put, you seem like a more low vibe energy at the moment. And I think part of that going on is because you seem to be a little bit confused. A lot of things have been going on in your life that put you in a quandary. You're not sure how to take it. Did you mishear them? Did you misunderstand? What is their real meaning? And that will be conversations, incidents that happen, things like that. So you've got a lot of, I wouldn't say weird stuff, but a lot of confusing stuff that's going on for you right now. What I would say is that you really need to start focusing on what it is that you want out of everything. Not necessarily what is it that you want out of life, but what is it that you want? Be it, I want abundance in love, I want changed jobs, I want better health, whatever it is, the things that are going to go on, you need to make choices. Otherwise, if you keep continuing the way you're going, there'll be too much stuff that's coming up and too much for you to process. So it's like, what do they say? Too many trees, you can't see the woods. So finding some clarity within yourself so that you can make good choices and have clarity over things is probably a very important thing. And it's not always easy to find clarity or make choices about what it is that you are seeking or what it is you want to know, when part of you inside is saying, I don't really know what I want. I don't know, because all the choices that have come up for me so far just don't seem like it. I'm not feeling that buzz. What I'd say is, don't worry about that. Go back, sit down, think about everything is just disappearing. And you write down a list of the top 3 things that you would like. And I don't mean like win $1 million, but just the 3 things that you would like. And from there, you will start to process it out yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Just kind of taking time by myself to really focus and try to narrow it down, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, but it's more because you've got too much info coming and incidents and weird stuff going on. It's like you're in overload. So you need to sort of more focus on what it is that you would like to do or like to achieve or like to know, let's say for the next few months. Let's not talk about the giant questions of life. Let's talk about what, like, I'll just make this up. I want to have a job change. I want to have a job where my boss is not mean to me and always up my nose every day. Things like that. It's like, what is it that you want? Because then when you are facing situations and scenarios, you won't have the same confusion, because you're like, you know what, doesn't make any difference. I don't want that anyway. So I don't need to interpret it or deep think it out. It just helps you become more focused and gain more clarity, because you're more clear about what is important to you at this moment.
Okay.
So now that we've got that set forth from the female perspective, what's going on in your love life right now that's male energy that's dragging you away from focus?
Actually, I'm married, and my relationship is it's good. We have a son, and he's a great father. Our connection is not as strong as it could be right now. And then I have another person from my past that comes up in dreams, and I'm not like sitting around thinking about this person all the time, but it comes up in dreams, and it's kind of maybe intrusive. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes very much sense. And this is why I wanted Kathy to put forth the energy first, because you do have a lot of scattered energy going on in your field. You have 30% of your awareness goes to your child, 30% of your awareness goes to your husband, and that only leaves you with 30% awareness of yourself. Okay. So this other person that's coming into your dreams and is beginning to occupy yourself, you may not be thinking about him, but he's thinking about you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that is a psychic bond that people have. And sometimes people get very lonely and will focus and dream and think about them during the day, and then it converts into their night dreams. And this is where you have to make a decision of how much awareness can I take back from my husband and my child so I can be more aware of what's going on in myself. There's lots of conflicting energies that are going on in you. And when the other person was telling you that, said that you could have a potential of being a very bright light, they're quite right. When I look at you in a metaphor, I see a big pool of water, and there's this shiny thing that's reflecting in the sun. But when I put my hand in the water and I go over it, it's not shiny anymore. So it's very ephemeral, very, very just out there, just the shininess of the reflection of a light that's there. Because you haven't become fully in your own awareness of your power. As a mother, you can be fully aware of what your child's doing without having all of your focus and awareness on them. You know what I mean? ceding control to someone else so that they could watch the child so you could have time by yourself. Now, one of the reasons you are moving apart with your husband is there's a lot of older energies that are in you that are not in him. So how long have you been married?
For 8 years.
8 years. What did he do before you were married? Did he change jobs?
He was new in his career. He had just started working, fresh out of college, maybe a year out, and just started in his career.
Doing what?
He's a teacher.
Okay, he's a teacher. And you were a stay-at-home mom?
I work part-time.
You work part-time. What is it that you did for a job?
I work in higher education.
Okay, so you were a teacher also?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. So is that fulfilling you, higher education?
Yeah, I've worked in it for 14 years now. I know it very well. I have pleasant relationships with my students. I don't know if I've hit like a plateau. I'm happy there. It's been good.
And this is what I'm trying to get to. Both you and your husband are sharing that same space, teacher energy.
Okay.
So this is what's pushing you apart, because your dream world and his dream world are so interacting with students all the time. Do you understand what I'm saying by your dream worlds are interacting with the students all the time, and you're not getting your own personal dream time with your husband? It's occupied with all these other needy, wanty beings.
Oh, okay. Kind of staying connected to the issues that I dealt with in the day, that kind of thing?
Yes. As well as, let's say you have 100 kids that know you, 1,000 kids that know you. Over a period of 20 years or 14 years, it's probably, 5,000-6,000 kids? All that you've had significant moments in their life, and they think about you. So there's also, when people are teachers, this is something I should probably just do a whole show on, what high school and college teachers actually go through spiritually, because you're important parts of their lives. Even if they don't want to be in that class, they're there for a reason under a spiritual contract.
Okay.
So this is something for you to look at, the spiritual contracts that you have with children, and then after they've graduated, if you see them going in the future, that's cool. That's great mystery shanks reminding you that this person and this person were a part of your frequency. But if you don't remember who they were, what their grades were, any of that stuff, they no longer need to be in your frequency. You have ended your contract of educating them. They now must go through their own self-education. So this is a spiritual practice that you can begin to do to yourself, is to begin to let go of the students that you know you will never meet this lifetime.
Okay. So more
you had your moment in time.
Just letting go of this. Yeah.
Yeah, letting go of this. So what other kind of questions did you have? We only got about 2-3 minutes left.
Is there anything else important I should be focusing on at this time?
Yeah, there are. And as I'm looking into your Akashic frequency, I have seen this person that was how do I describe it? An artist out for the Pharaoh's walls. So you would do the pictographs and the hieroglyphs on the walls. And you absolutely loved this job because there was language, there was art, there was multidimensional concepts behind it. There was the past, the present, and the future teachings built all inside of it. And it was an artistic pictographic code. And I think it's important for you now to even just look at some old Egyptian hieroglyphs and try to doodle them out yourself. Really, really challenge yourself to begin. Go on to Google and look up Egyptian hieroglyphs, and you literally try to doodle them yourself.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our music. This has been a really incredible show. Thanks a lot, everyone, for calling in. And those callers that we didn't get through to, call in next Monday 2 to 4 Eastern Time on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Evolution